Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Silent Hill 4: The Room, the Silent Hill game that maybe was or wasn't a Silent Hill game in development. People still aren't sure. Silent Hill 4: The Room is the final one Team Silent worked on. Is this black sheep worth playing today? Let's find out. Silent Hill 4: The Room is a survival horror game and was made in tandem with Silent Hill 3 by a different team and attempts to do a lot of different things with the franchise. You play as Henry, who wakes up one day to find his apartment door sealed shut from the inside, and any attempts to break a window or even contact the outside world don't work. In his washroom, he discovers a massively growing hole, which, once he climbs through it, he ends up in a typical Silent Hill location with a person who more often than not is a murder victim for the killer Walter Sullivan. Henry needs to figure out what Sullivan wants from him, his motives behind the killings, and how to get the hell out of his room. The game itself is split between two key methods of play: the titular room and the areas you explore. For the first half of the game, your room is a safe haven, where you'll heal for free, save your game, and arrange your inventory, as you can now only hold a limited number of objects. This is presented entirely in first person, which further enhances the scares as the room becomes less safe and more spooky the second half of the game. From your room hub, you'll journey to various Silent Hill zones, which are each done in the usual third-person Silent Hill exploration. These areas are generally fairly small and relatively simple to traverse, except the prison, and unlike most previous Silent Hill games, seem to overall have less puzzles and more focus on exploration. The second half of the game, you'll basically be doing all of this again, just with a companion, exploring the same handful of areas in the same order with slightly different arrangements, while escorting a character who can't die, but if she gets hurt too much, you get a bad ending. Combat is more melee focused than other Silent Hill games, as there's much less ammo, but you do have a few more moves like charging attacks for bigger hits. Another change is the ghosts, unkillable enemies that can only be incapacitated temporarily or permanently with a very limited item. They'll damage you just by being near you, meaning you'll have to plan your routes around them. And honestly, not a ton more to say about Silent Hill 4. The room itself mixes up the previously completely linear gameplay, but generally speaking, it plays and feels very similar to the rest of the franchise. So what do I like about Silent Hill 4? Well, the story of this game is a slow burn, but once it ramps up, it is incredibly engaging, with a fantastic villain, some genuinely creepy reveals, and great set pieces. Additionally, the room is the highlight here, particularly the claustrophobic feeling it gives you, how it evolves over the course of the game, and how the game uses it in a handful of puzzles that are very clever. And lastly, several of these zones are really horrific. I particularly like the prison and the apartment, and some of the new enemies are genuinely horrifying. The atmosphere is classic Silent Hill, and that rules. When it comes to the bad, boy, the second half of this game is some of the most frustrating gameplay I've ever experienced. The slow-paced escort missions on levels you've already played, paired with unkillable enemies hunting you down, is so obnoxious I had to take breaks. Additionally, Henry is the most nothing main character I've ever seen, which I think might have been intentional. He has almost no reaction to any of the weird stuff going on, has minimal impact on the story until the very end, and is just thoroughly bland. And lastly, those unkillable ghosts that chase you around are so frustrating. So much so that even the developers admitted in interviews after the fact. They don't stay down long enough, they obscure your vision, and they aren't scary, just frustrating. As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale. Must play, maybe consider, don't bother. And I honestly can't think of a game that I'm more mixed on in my life. Silent Hill 4 is brimming with interesting ideas, genuinely spooky areas, a fascinating story, and some absolutely atrocious design decisions. The first half is a decent enough Silent Hill game, and the latter half is a frustrating escort mission that made me lose what little hair I have left. So, do I recommend it? I don't really know. If you're a fan of Silent Hill, you should play it just because Team Silent made it, but for those less familiar, I honestly don't know how you'd take it. So yeah, very lukewarm recommendation if you can call it that. And that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think about Silent Hill 4: The Room? I know it's very divisive for the fans of the franchise, as well as newcomers, but I want to know your take if you have one, so please let me know in the comments. And regardless, go out there and give Silent Hill 4 a look.